Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. My name is Mehak, and we are thrilled to have you here with us for the Changes webinar series 2025. And thank you for making the time to be here. Today, we are going to be diving into one of the most important conversations in enterprise tech right now, which is data ops and AI, which is the future of enterprise data management. Well, I will be your host and your coordinator today between the speaker and the attendees. Let me explain to you what we do here at Chances. We're proud to work with organizations managing their records, tackling their complex migrations, improving data governance, and driving transformations through automation and AI. With our pre built templates and our client retention rate of about 97%, we believe in building solutions that can actually work. So, in today's session, we will give you a first hand look at how data ops and AI are coming together to solve the most pressing data challenges enterprises face today, which could be constant pipeline failures, unreliable AI outcomes, rising operational costs, lagging insights, and increasing compliance pressure. And more importantly, how to overcome them. Before we dive in, we're incredibly lucky to be joined by a true expert and visionary in this space, Mr. Subhash Chandra Ilango. He is the Chief Product Officer at Chainsys and someone who's played a pivotal role in redefining how enterprises approach data. He brings deep expertise in cloud platforms, data engineering, governance, and intelligent automation. His work has helped global organizations build future ready digital ecosystems, achieve high performance analytics, and navigate complex migrations with precision and speed. Subhash isn't just shaping product strategy, he's helping businesses unlock the real value of their data in ways that are scalable. So, without further ado, Subhash, I would like to pass over the baton to you.
Thank you, Mahek, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all present here. All right, so again, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Today we'll be exploring more about how data ops and AI are revolutionizing the enterprise data management, enabling businesses to unlock and become smarter in making faster insights and making smarter decisions. So today we'll be more covering about the uh, overlook of how DataOps and AI, and we'll also have a small look on how Change's smart data platform is trying to solve those problems. So, so before we go into details, like it's just an agenda saying how introduction to data ops and AI, the data challenges that we are facing, and then we'll go a little bit on a deeper dive onto data ops and the AI's role on the data ops on EDM message. And then we'll have a spin on how Change's smart data platform gives you solutions to these problems as such, right? And then we'll have ample Q&A sessions. So we'll first go with the data challenges, right? Right. What are the data challenges? Again, like we are looking at a data growth. See, this is just a small preview, right? Like this is just a data growth happening from 120 to as of 2024, it was around 120 zettabytes of data. Is like the forecast of for 2025 is around 180 zettabytes, right? And by 2030, it is expected to be 660 zettabytes. And it's again the data. This of course has the data storage market is being forecasted for around $78 billion on 2030. That's the growth of data. It's an explosion of data, right? And it's just not the volume here that we are talking about. It's beyond the three V's is what we call it, right? Like it's more than volume, velocity, and variety. We also look at the veracity and value to the data, right? When we talk about veracity, it's the accuracy of the data and how much value it adds to your business, right? So that's the first challenge. The second challenge is there are lots of niche technologies and niche applications coming in for each and every uh, corner of the thing. So we have data silos and fragmented data. So that becomes a major uh, bottleneck in giving you the right uh, data insights at the right time. So that is one problem. And still there are around more than you can expect, around 20-30% of or I would even be a little bit lower on that side, but more than that is still on the legacy systems, which again has problems with the technological, whatever we are trying to do with AI or any technology stack, it's not coming up to that limit, right? We are having slowness, it cannot handle that kind of a data. So all those things are there. So that is the second or the third problem that we have in hand right now, right? So these two, the data silos and the legacy systems, actually it also gives us more for an issue on creating a real-time insights, and that gives you a lag in decision making as such. And adding to the thing, like right now there's heavy uh, importance that has been given on the compliance, like your GDPRs, your CCPAs, and of course, these are all very important with terms of privacy and security, but this adds the complexity to the data management also to that, right? So these are the overall bigger 5 challenges I would say right now that is happening, right? And this challenge is what makes the data ops more interesting, or it makes the data ops more required at this stage. Um, so how do we create DataOps, right? So here, and this slide talks to you about the unified approach. Like you cannot just have AI which will handle all the parts of your problem. You'll have to have a DataOps and AI as a unified approach. So first of all, like what's DataOps like, right? Like the DataOps it's the foundation of it's a foundation of an agile data management. Basically, you have data management, but you have to apply the agile methodology onto your data. So it's how it's applying your DevOps principle and your agile principles on data, right? Again, that's why we said it's just not a tool set, it's a cultural shift. You have to be very process oriented in terms of handling the data. How do you do it? And it all focuses on your data lifecycle. How is your how process repeatable and reliable for the data delivery? And that's the most important part of it. AI becomes a catalyst to this, and the repeatable and reliable process. That's where the automation of complex tasks and to help and enhance your data analysis and decision becomes important. Also the real-time data observability on how constantly monitoring your data, not in just of terms of the data movement, but also in terms of your data quality of your data is being monitored, right? And then we have the automation, intelligent automation. It's just not about automation. It's just not where we just create workflows and automate it. It's about intelligent automation where it's again constant monitoring of that, and how do you um, optimize all those things, right? That's where AI plays a major role. So that's where we say that the synergetic relationship, which is basically combining the data ops and AI, is what is going to give you more power. Like data apps it's a framework, but then AI is its capabilities. Like it enhances its capabilities and makes sure that we are able to do what we want to do. And what is the result of this? The result of this becomes your you create your data becomes your strategic asset. So that is the data products that we have, right? So the organization has a proactive data management put into play with the data products which gives you a more dependable, trustable data and makes the organizations more data driven and a smooth proactive approach. So what is DataOps? So it's fundamentally the basic idea of DataOps is to apply the DevOps principles and agile methodologies to your operations, your data operations, right? Now, if you see on the left, right, like we are more focusing on data ops towards your enterprise data management, right? So first, the image depicts like the external circle has your life cycle of data operations, whereas the internal gives you a life cycle of the data, right? Like when we talk about enterprise data management, we start acquiring data from multiple source systems, and then we we assess quality and then again enrich the quality of the data integrated into the data stores from where we do all the metadata management, creating all your um, catalogs, your lineages between multiple systems, how's the lineage between each and every silos of the data being created, right? So all those things happens there. And after that, you need to apply the data governance where you make sure that you have your proper governance on terms of security, privacy, who sees what, and those things. You have to create a data governance with which you also create security in place, right? When all these things are done, then you create a space where you are able to expose your data, your trustable data to analytics and consumption to the business. Right? So this is the whole data life cycle, right? Like, of course, then applying the DevOps principle, or like basically the DevOps principle, where you plan, design, build the pipelines, test it, making sure we have a constant integration and constant delivery model put into play, deploy it, keep it operational, and constantly monitor it. That's most important. You have to constantly monitor the thing. So this whole thing gives you what data ops is. So it's again, that's what we say, the agile data management. Why should we go in for data ops? What is the real necessity of data ops? What am I going to do different, something different here? So when we talk about the benefits, right? Like we talk about first the accelerated data delivery. Like we there has been studies that has clearly said that the data cycle has been reduced to at least approximately up to 50%, depending on how well you put the data operations into play. Right? That's your highest thing. It also makes sure with constant monitoring and automation of all the things, you give more reliable analytics by decreasing your data quality errors up to 30%. This is very important. Data quality, like for all the AI that you're going to do, creating a data trust, making sure your data is as clean as possible is very important, right? Then it increases the efficiency. Like again, your data operations, data ops not only talks about automation, it also talks about your collaborated effort. So which means your data processing, your operational costs comes down with all the automations put into play. Again, like with your data silos, you have to have a constant collaboration between multiple departments, your data professionals, your business analysts. Everybody's come together to come up with a problem, to come up with a proper solution and design. So data ops is highly like on that side of collaboration, where you are able to get at least 15% of efficiency in, like when I say efficiency, or yes, time spent on data related issues, like because we make sure that it is the proper design is put into play right in the start, right? And all these things gives you more agility, make sure that any changes to the data, changes in the business needs are immediately addressed, and you have a go to market pretty easily there. And so these are the multiple benefits that we see out of the data ops coming into play, right? Okay, so these are the things, like we have data ops, we know what data ops is, we have benefits of what the data ops is all about, right? Now, how is AI going to help us here, right? The data ops is all talking about automation. So that's where the AI powered automation comes into play. So first, the automated data cleansing and transformation. See, again, how important it is to clean the data is something that every organization needs. You have to have a clear, clean data which is transformed into a well-known data set, right? So that is a high importance. So again, how much of an automation you add to it brings it much with lesser human intervention. You have lots of error prone processes being removed, and you make sure the delivery of those data is on a faster basis. And we are also talking about the data integration. So we talked about the data silos and real-time data. So we have to have the intelligent data integration and orchestration to make sure that your disparate sources are being mapped properly. So the automated data mapping, like again, we cannot constantly spend time in doing data mapping based on everything. Like we have to have an intelligence to automate the data mapping between the disparate systems. That's very important, for which AI makes it an important tool for us to go do the automated data mapping. Your orchestration, your data pipelines orchestration needs more intelligence and this than just being a static orchestrated pipelines. You need to have more intelligent orchestrations of these pipelines, seeing how can you optimize these data pipelines to make sure your data is being delivered to the business at a real time or in the very much in the needed time, right? And again, we talk about constant monitoring. So when we do constant monitoring, we also start looking at the anomaly detections and corrections, like how is this data pipeline, what kind of anomalies are happening on that data pipeline, to make sure that those pipelines are not just detected, but also corrected in the real time as much as possible. Right? So we use lots of algorithms to identify the data patterns and flag any deviations there, and also prevent data quality issues by constantly monitoring it. Like any data quality issues we start that can impact the downstream systems, so we stop the data quality issues right in the start, make sure it is cleansed, and then moves it into the data set or the data product to make sure we have a trustable data. With all these things put into play, when once you have a trusted data, we have a huge amount of historical data put into play, and then we can start working on the predictive analysis on the pipelines, a predictive kind of a pipelines, to make sure that all the bottlenecks or inefficiencies are being proactively looked at and handled. AI powered automation in all the four levels, right? On the cleansing, on anomaly detection, your data integrations, and optimization of your pipelines will have you will reduce your data processing time by at least 60%, is what we see. On the real-time data observability, what do we have at real-time or data observability? First, continuous monitoring of data pipelines. That's what we saw, but what does it do? So it provides a comprehensive view of the data flow and allows proactive issue detection, right? Monitors your data ingestion, uh, how much of a data ingestion rate is going on. It makes sure your performance is being monitored, and any uh, thing is proactively handled. That's the first part of it, right? And then it also starts real-time data quality metrics on your accuracy, completeness, and consistency, right? It uses, like, it places data profiling, your validation rules, anomaly detection engines like your ML. So we use all the ML algorithms to handle the detections and start looking at the quality metrics for each and every data set. Now, this any issues that we see has to be more properly notified to the data teams so that the anomalies can be taken care of. If not, if you are unable to do the error correction on the fly, right, like automated, and then we are looking at the proactive issue detection on and resolution, which is like it has to automatically trigger your failover mechanisms. Like whenever you detect uh, data problems, it has to make sure it has a failover mechanism to handle all your errors, reducing your downtime. So we can have at least 40% of your problems with the data pipeline downtime being handled. Right? So that is a very major thing because you have to maintain your historical data of how this data pipeline has been working so that we can learn from these histories about to make sure that we are able to handle or understand the issues that can come up and also be proactive on that. And then creating a data lineage as a data result, right? Like when we constantly move data from multiple places, we also start creating lineages between the systems, the data sets, which will help us visualize the upstream and downstream of data flows, right? So, and we can use these metadata catalogs for doing tracing the pipelines and making sure that we have proper governance put into play and make sure we have a proper monitoring system put there. So all these things, right? We by making these data observability points, like when you constantly keep monitoring, make sure your errors are reduced, your data trust increases, giving more confident on the insights that are put on the data, right? That the consumers of the data, the business has a higher confidence with the quality scores being maintained and gives the business more trustworthy data, right? And this also not only handles that, but it also gives you more information on the auditing and auditability of the data, so that your governance and your compliance, all the issues are also taken care by a constant monitoring of the data. So that's where your real-time data observability makes it very important. Governance. So how do you create a governance? How do you make it more intelligent, right? So again, automation is the key here, right? So you can create granular policies with all the role-based RBAC put implemented properly, and make sure that you are able to automate the security and access controls with yeah. So automating the data security and your data access controls, how much of an access control automation can be done will make sure that you are able to access those data in the right people accessing the right amount of data at the right time is made sure that it happens in a faster manner, right? And also make sure that we have automated data masking, or your data protection layer is automated, so that all your sensitive data is also protected, and you don't have to again constantly keep looking at monitoring those things. So you have to make sure that it is automated to make sure your data is your sensitive data is masked to the right people. The same, like it's the same thing. When this helps you when you do this, the automated data masking, it helps you in achieving the data privacy and compliance management. So this is very important, right? So uh, so the data masking gives you a high privacy, and then you also the automating the data subject access requests is what I was talking about. Like how do you automate the RBAC systems as such? Like when you have, how do you give access to the people is something that you need to look at. And also on the automation of the data retention policies, where you have your archiving the data, retaining the data. How do you have all your historical data moved into the right places and for the right amount of time, has to be automated. And by doing all these things, we are again having a little bit of a complexity, but by automated catalog, by cataloging the data automatically, we also make sure that we have a kind of lineage between all these data sets, so that the business can understand where, how the data is being put on. And it just not only gives you the technical angle of it, but also from a business angle, the business have to know how their data is put and where it is, right? And more importantly, creating the automatic data labeling, the tagging, classifying your data to make sure that business understands each and every data and how it is being. This helps you understand the data assets that you have in the business. That's the most important thing. Um, Actually, I should have started like with this. Like we see our we there has been a clear uh, update that at least 50 to 60% of the data that organization have is unutilized. Only 35 to 40% of the data is being used. By creating the proper cataloging and metadata management, you make sure that you have a more usage of the existing data rather than data being stagnant and without being properly used. All these things forces us into what is the how do we create uh, AI-driven decision making, right? Yeah. So we have all your historical data. You have your whole data set that we have created. Now we can apply all the machine learning algorithms on the historical data to identify your patterns and then predict future outcomes. We can use your time series analysis, your regression models, and classification algorithms in creating forecasts and making sure that the business understands what is the trend that we are looking at. So that makes the organizations more proactive in decision making, right? And then you have your uh, automated insights. Basically, like this is more how much of an insight is, how can you make it more actionable? That's again, that's where the data products that we are talking about, it has to be a data product. This should be a actionable data set asset for you, where we can start seeing more insights and recommendations, automate the recommendations out of those data products. We can use multiple algorithms like clustering algorithms and of course rule mining to make sure your data is properly mined and a proper recommendations are being given. From predictive, you start working on a prescriptive model by creating prescriptive models being created for all your recommendations. Again, now we all know that AI, everybody starts using NLP, like we start chatting about it. So you're creating a personalized user experience makes it even more important as far as the data being handled, used, right? We again say like 60% of your data is alone used, like is not used. How do we make sure that all these things are, how do we make sure that a business user goes in and gets what he wants? So that's where we are looking at all the NLPs and machine learning algorithms to uh, understand the data. So we have to start taking all these data, push it into the model to make sure it is being learned and then the business starts using the data in a very strategic manner, right? So uh, so we have to create your sentiment analysis, your chatbots to make sure all these data is properly used. Um, again, data products, like this is all about data products, right? Like we have, what's a data product? Like it has to be a reusable, high quality and trustworthy data set. That is the basic foundation of how you want the data structure to be, to make sure that it's used properly, right? So by doing this, you again give more actionable insights to business needs and make it more user friendly, reliable, and is integrated into decision making. This kind of gives you a brief, I wouldn't say a deeper side of it. We can go much deeper, but this should give you a kind of a glimpse on how we have to start using your data. How do you operationalize your data process, right? And where all should we start using the AI uh, to make our organizations more uh, data driven in and more proactive in manner, right? And now I will start showing or discussing a little bit on how changes as such are giving you a solution in getting to that state where we want to be, right? So this is a kind of an overview of what changes platform is all about. It's just a glance of uh, the large data sets that we have, right? On the foundation, like we have all that we talked about, your security taken place, all your RBAC policies taken into account, and all your workflows, automations, all those things are created on the foundation layer so that you can build more on that, right? Including your chatbots, like your NLPs, all are handled on the foundation level of it. And then we start building your data products on that, where we have multiple solutions for integration, specific solutions for migration, where you can move data from two disparate systems to a single disparate system. Like again, here data migration is more where you want to move your legacy system data into data lake or into a new system uh, to make sure you'll be able to handle more and more modernized data rather than your legacy data. So we help on the data migration aspect of it. Of course, enterprise data management is a larger portion of it. It spans through all the solutions here. So I would keep enterprise data management at the last. Your archival, which the last we talked about when we talked about how do you retain your data. So all those retaining of data is being handled at the data archival level, constant monitoring of your data, and making sure the data products have the real-time data. So you have a reconciliation put into play where you can reconcile your data, proper data being there in the right places at the right time. Historical data, again, like you take the historical data, move it into your existing operational system, or you want to move it into the archival system, we can do that, right? So that is more on the moving data from one system to the other. And then we have a whole data quality management system where you have you can assess your data quality and start constantly um, enhance your data quality, and also start giving you an analytical uh, uh, data products about your from those information, right? So that's on the data quality side of it. And then we have a whole um, making sense of your data by making sure your data security is handled by all your data as masking. Your metadata management starts from your data profiling, and then we catalog your metadata, making sure that you have all the relevant informations. We handle all the PII, GDPR, and CCPA compliance using your remediation of the data, right? Like when you do a profile, you understand PII, but then how do you remediate it? So all those rules are being handled, and we also have the analytic layer, of course, like where you create your own ML algorithms are being built in, where you will be able to use those algorithms to create the right amount of predictive and prescriptive uh, insights onto the data. And beyond the data platform, we also have a smart business platform where we make sure your the smart bots is nothing but a kind of a regression testing. So this is very important to make sure your data is clean and your systems are constant, are not falling into problems. So we have a clear uh, regression testing put into play, right? And we also have a smart app builder, which is kind of a no-code, low-code platform or creating an application with uh, with ease. So that way, when we do archive, let's take an archival into consideration, right? When we do the archival of data, if your data is in a place where it is archived but not touched, doesn't make meaning to it. So we give you a layer where you'll be able to create applications where you can search and then create more valuable insights out of those archived data, right, or historical data. So not only that we also make sure that you'll be able to create any systems like, uh, to be precise, like we use Smart App Builder to create our own ERP systems. We have templates to create your own ECM systems and so on. So that is the strength of Smart App Builder. So Change's data platform wants is kind of your data transformation partner. So how do we do it? We don't, I mean, you can see on the source systems, we don't just work only on the structured data. We make sure we work on the unstructured data, any kind of data for that matter. So the three V's and beyond, right? You have your, uh, you can handle the volume, the variety of data, and also the veracity is handled using the data quality side of it, right? So, so you can handle any source systems, and from there, your first step of data acquisition happens, like where your assessment of data happens here. You acquire the data from any number of source systems and scan those data, right? You scan it. When I say scan it, profile it, and it profiles both on your metadata level and also make sure it profiles your quality of your data, and then gives you the score on all the three major reasons, like the completeness, your duplications, your uniqueness, your consistency, your accuracy. So all these four major quality scores metrics are being looked at and is being reported. And not just that, we don't stop with there. We make sure that helps that it creates the rules automatically, or recommends rules automatically based on your assessment, and gives you a kind of a data quality framework where you can enrich your data, um, and as much automations are being created automatically. And of course, you also take it into a kind of a workflow where you have your data stewards and data owners looking at your data and doing it right. So once your data quality is put into play, right, of course, not all data needs to go there. So we also have the archiving layer put into play. So basically, your sources scanned, relevance created, and then assessment done on the relevance. And also at the same time, we create a data archiving put into play here. And once you have your quality put into play, where as I said, like it's not only, it handles all your data. and also make sure all your uniqueness is handled. Basically, your once you see duplications, how do you handle the duplications? Make sure all the cross references created so that when you do the transformation, you make sure that the all your transactional data are handled or transformed to the right uh, data set with all the uniqueness taken care of. And once that is done, you go through the data approval process. Again, you can see here clearly that the data ops is kind of built into the system to make sure that you have a clear operational or flow put into play, right? So once you have your data quality created, then you go into the data approval and then integrate the data into any data lake or uh, any data storage that you are looking at. And then from that, you start consuming the data into your basically your data products, create your data products using, you can use data Zens, which handles all your analytical and data, or you can use any other visualization layer as such. That is the overall as a transformation, right? But here is what is going to happen, right? Basically, you have a place where you have all your data is being handled, cleansed it, and then we have a continuous AI put into play where you have the Zen, which is it takes your data, it can use any algorithms, like it then analyze the data, it creates a model training and then predicts, it constantly monitors your data, make sure data is the quality of data is handled there, and then it optimizes the pipeline as such. All different structured data go in there, create a kind of a golden data hub there. And then we also have all the transactional system data. Using the cleansed data, we make sure all those things are integrated into the analytical layer, and also the cataloging happens to make sure that we have a clear business uh, ready or a business glossary is being created. So again, as you see, like we have all different source systems put into play, different variety of source systems. And finally, it's what is the value proposition. So the enterprise data management, we make sure we have all the data lifecycle that has to happen in an enterprise data management situation. We also make sure that the process or the data process is also taken care. Make sure all your continuous integration, everything is handled within the platform, so that you don't have to uh, really strive too much in creating those data ops and AI, as like it's a combined effort that is already put into play for you. I know it has been a kind of a very brief, not too detailed, but of course we can go into details for each and every single step of it, which can itself be a bigger webinar. Hopefully we'll do that sooner. Thank you. I think that's from my side. I'll be open for any questions.
Well, thank you once again. I think we can all agree there was a lot of value packed into that session, and it has definitely sparked a few questions. So we have a few questions from our audience, and it would be great if we can get some insight from you. So let's dive into that and get some questions answered, if that's okay.
Sure.
The first question we have is, what's the first step an enterprise should take to adopt data ops effectively?
The first step, right, like to have a kind of data ops effectively, right? Like first you have to understand that there has to be an assessment put into play. That's where we start with the when we saw the initial changes data movement, like we start assessing your data, like without knowing how big a data it is or what kind of a data you have, creating a process put into play is really difficult. So you start with assessment. That's your entry step to whatever you want to do, right? And that's where uh, creating a automated assessment platform, right, is going to be important to you start in terms of your first step of your data ops.
The next question is, how is AI helping on the on-premise environment and security?
Okay, so see, there are two things. There are different ways you can set up an AI, right? So it's not that for on-prem, when we want to put an AI into play, naturally you'll have to have a little bit of infrastructure accordingly planned. But it's not too difficult to set up all those environments. To start with, you have to have a proper vectorization and to put into play. You have to have the proper LLM models put into play, and then start giving data. Like basically, your LLM models will start using your vectorized data, and then start giving you more informations from there. So AI, like when we talk about AI, there are multiple levels of AI, right? Like so you should be able to do that, but at the same time, you'll have to, for an on-prem, you'll have to put in more, a little bit more infrastructural planning into play early on what you want to do, how much you want to do. Depending on that, you will be able to plan your AI journey as such. But again, for that, we start with assessment. Understand your data first. That is the number one piece of it. So you understand your data and then start looking at how much of a value you want to add to your data, right? And then deliver it accordingly. There cannot be it's like this, like one size does not fit all. So it cannot be a generalized solution, but depending on your assessment, your solution could change.
Okay, wow, perfect. Thank you. The next question is, can you share a real world example of how changes helped solve a major data issue?
uh, Fintech industry who handles a multiple amount of data, right? Like it's a huge data set where we help data, like when where you have all unstructured data coming in, and the business needs to know the output, has to have an output in a structured data so that they can start using it for their uh, uh, evaluation of data, and then helping their customers in achieving whatever they want to do, right? So basically, when we have a situation where we take in all the data, all the unstructured data, then convert that into a structured data. Again, here, when you say unstructured, it's not a common model, like common structure. It has every unstructured data has a different structure to it. So we start analyzing that, and then we create a kind of a model where we put that uh, into a structured system where the users will come and create a quality process where they approve, like they can confirm that that is kind of the data that they are looking at, and then they move it to the next level. So that is one such scenario that where we've helped to handle unstructured data to a structured data. I think that's one real world example that we have used.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We have two more questions and then that'll be time. The next question is, what kind of ROI or efficiency gains can teams expect in the first few months?
ROI is there for sure, but in first few months, again, your ROI would be understanding your data. Maybe it's again like me repeating it. The first few months, you have to understand, make sure that you have understand what your data is, how much of a data you have, what kind of a data you have. That is the most important part of it. So then you start working on it. So the ROI would be for you to immediately understand what kind of a data you have, and then start working from there. Again, it's, I think I'm repeating the answer again, but I think that's where the first few months is, again, it all depends on how big a data you have and what kind of data you have and what you want to do with that data, right? So your ROI will always be there, but it depends on where you start, what's your end goal, right? Again, that's where we say it's not a one big. That's where we have an agile process. That's data ops altogether, right? It's not that you take everything and start doing everything in one shot. So you have an agile process where you say, okay, I'll take this data, do whatever I want to do with that, and then give the business the value, which means you can immediately start getting the ROI from there. So, but again, you have to analyze your data and then split this into multiple parts and then start attacking the most important thing that you immediately need and then go on. That's the overall data ops where you have an agile process on the data to make sure that you achieve the end goal in a multiple phases of it.
Okay, this brings us to our last question. How does Changes support continuous improvement in data pipelines over time?
Again, like if I could go back on the slides, like uh, in terms of continuous integration, make sure we have platform. We make sure that we have a proper SDLC here instead of lifecycle created, where all your configurations are make sure from that it moves from one instance to the other. All your continuous integration of your data assets or your configuration assets are handled within the platform so that you don't have to really do an externalization of it, basically create an external uh, uh, system, or you have to have an external scripts created for moving your uh, configurations from one instance to the other instance. So that is automatically built in within the tool so that you can make sure that all your new changes that you have done in terms of your agile process are being carried over to the respective environments automatically. And you don't have to do something away from the or outside the changes platform. Everything is handled within that. Yeah.
Well, yes, no, we have gotten everything from you today. It was incredibly a valuable session. Thank you for all your insights and through your experience and your journey. And we also hope that today's webinar gave the attendees, some clarity, sparked some new ideas, and more importantly, it helped us, just go through and see what's possible with data ops and AI and, come together to transform each enterprise. So thank you, Subhash, and thank you to all the attendees. If you had asked a question and we couldn't get to you, do not worry. We will follow up shortly with some resources. So keep an eye on your inbox, and we'll also be sending out the recording. And until next time, this is us from Chances saying thank you and take care, and we will see you soon for the next webinar. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.